So, good morning, everyone. Israel time. We're very happy to have you again. My very honorable guest is Yossi Pasher, which is, first of all, my father. And this is our second meeting online. Yossi is a specialist in training and in coaching, and we spoke many other things as well. And he has behind him a history of teaching many, many years. And I will first ask him to speak about a bit about his background in coaching and teaching. And then we'll go into our subject of the day, which is interviews and online interviews. So, Abba, could you please give us some background about your coaching and teaching? And if you can try to talk a bit more about teaching and coaching people how to be interviewed, or on the other side of the desk, how to be interviewed.
Well, it depends on what you want to hear. If you want to hear my history, it's going to be a long, long,
So
a
if
long
you were my
interview. So,
interviewee,
so
if I asked you in two lines to give your history and skills, so what would you say regarding how you coach people to know how to be interviewed and interview?
I'll tell you in brief. So first of all, I teach people and tell them to make sure they are ready to convey how they meet each of the job requirements that they are interviewed for. Okay, this is first and foremost.
Intelligence.
Yeah, intelligence. That's first and foremost. And then I would say you should find and address the gaps in his experience and knowledge
What do you mean by that?
regarding to the requirements. Where are the gaps? So he won't fall in the interview. And then he has to practice questions and answer with someone else on camera or off camera or across the mirror, whatever. This is in brief that he should do. And then I can tell you all kinds of tips
So
of
yeah, so we'll take it one at a time. So my first question is, let's say I want to be interviewed for a position that I think I could fill, let's say 70% of the requirements. How do I fill the gaps? What would you say? Should I be honest about it? Should I try to not talk about it? What is your best advice?
It again depends on the organization that you are applying for. Most of the people, I would say, very softly, they lie. White lies,
They lie.
yeah. White lies. They are trying to beautify their resume, and and it goes both ways. The interviewer, the, the the person that interviews also tries to beautify the organization
And the
and
position, the
and the
organization and
position,
the position.
and it tries to sell the position, and the interviewee is trying to buy the position. So they are both uh, using white lines, etc., etc. But I can tell you that first of all, there are, I would say, typical questions that are being asked during an interview, and one of them, the most common, is tell me about yourself. You're probably aware of it. So
Some
tell me about.
people, some people, when you ask them to tell about yourself, they don't know when to stop. You have these people that actually tell you about themselves.
That's it. So I would like to give you some tips about it. If you ask
Please.
about tell me
Yeah.
tell me about yourself, I would say start with the discussing your current situation relating to the job requirements. Okay,
Do you mean, am I
explain.
still employed? Am I
Yeah,
unemployed?
explain your current role and highlight, I would say, major relevant achievements and responsibilities. This is very, very important. And then work background, okay, by hitting key points. You have to hit key points along your professional journey. I'm emphasizing key points along your professional journey. You have to
Such as,
summarize.
such
uh,
as what?
You have to summarize previous experiences relating to the demand of the job, okay, and how you have helped to prepare for the role. Focus on results you can quantify where it's possible. This is very, very important. And of course, you can connect your background and interest and qualification to the job that is being you are being interviewed for. And then you finish by explaining, I would say, your experience that will make you successful in the role, and how the job aligns with your career goals. This is very important. How the job that you are being interviewed for aligns with your career goals,
I
because
understand.
it's important. So this is, for
This is for the
instance,
tell me about yourself part.
tell me about yourself. And of course, there are many other questions that you can answer, and how, it should, again, it depends on the job that you are being interviewed for.
Would you say that to be a good interviewer or interviewee is a skill, or is it something that someone could just learn? I mean, do you think that you can watch a video and be skillful, or do you think you should practice? Well, how would you address such a skill of being
I
an
think you should.
interviewee?
I think you should. From my experience, I think you should practice. The more you practice, whether it's with a friend, whether it's with a coach, the more you practice, the more you have a chance to succeed in your interviews and get the job.
Could you explain to us, please, as a coach and as a trainer, what would be, in short, in a few sentences, what is the process that you will take hand by hand an interviewee and teach her or him how to become better? They make contact with you, and then what do you do?
First of all, as I mentioned before, I would say you have to research the company and your interviewers. This is very, very important. And then you have to practice your answers to common interview questions.
So
And
you
as I
will bring them, so you collect common questions in their field of work.
yes,
How would it be done? Do you take pictures, photos, videos? How do you do that?
usually I'm practicing it with the video, and we have to practice and answer common questions.
Do you
And
later sit with the videos and watch them? And do you actually go over, frame by frame and show them, look at your eyes here, look at your face
yeah,
there?
yeah. And then I think I really put an emphasis on studying the job description and note required skills, qualities, experiences, etc., etc., in the job experience. And I have to be prepared for it. What are the skills and what are the requirements? What are the qualifications, etc.? And Uh, I usually uh, ask my my coaches,
Yeah,
those
your
who
clients, yeah.
my clients, uh, to recruit a friend to practice answering questions, not only with me but with friends. Okay, and
To get
what
feedback.
more? What more? Um, I would say to be prepared with examples of what I have done before in other work situations.
So when an interviewer, your coachee tells you, look, these are my gaps, my lacks of skill. You said that, I mean, interviewees lie, interviewers lie, but he comes to you and he says, I need to be on this and this date. Do you think, Yossi, that it's better that when I'm asked about the missing gaps, that I just say the truth and I'll say, I'll try to fill them in as I go on? Or do you think that there are some of them that I should say, yeah, I'm quite good, or yeah, I know how to do that, or what would be the
Again,
better approach?
again, it depends. It depends on the organization. It depends on the situation. It's very hard to answer such a question very punctually. Um, I would say that we have to prepare smart questions. The interviewee, the interviewee should prepare smart questions for the interviewers.
Oh, could you give me an example of
Yeah.
questions that I should ask an interviewer while I'm being interviewed?
Uh, could you please tell us if there is a gap between the departments in your organization in view of whatever? Uh, for instance, could you tell me, please, what are the specific demands from the job that I'm supposed to do?
I
Okay.
understand. But what happens now? We're moving now to questions regarding the online world, from physical interviews to online interviews. What happens with these interviews that are, a lot of them are made by AI today, where you go into a link and you get a question and you have, let's say, 30 seconds to answer. I have a specific question about that. Do you think that people, when they are interviewed, like, it feels like you're interviewed by a robot? Should you stick to the questions exactly that you're being asked? Or should you like to be someone who sticks out from a crowd of thousands that recorded the same videos? And see the question just as a direction, but try to answer things so that you can input your skills, your specialties exactly. What do interviewers like more? People that do what they want to, or people that go.
Now, I would recommend to tie your answers back to your skills and accomplishments. This is very important.
So
The more you tie your
specifically they ask you, let's say you're going for an interview as an English teacher. So they'll say to you, um, how many years have you been teaching English? So you're supposed just to say how many years, but you want to make it clear that you have a good accent, that you know about the culture.
that's not enough. I say you have to tie the answers back to your skills and accomplishments. The skills can be I have a very, relating to your question, I have a very good accent, or I have a better, whatever, or I have a very large vocabulary in classical English, and the accomplishment is that I taught many students in Russia, for instance, to
Yeah.
or in China to speak English, so they can be well understood with an
So you're
accent.
saying answer what is asked, briefly, and as fast as you can, go to your personal input
Exactly,
of skills.
exactly that. This is very, very important to emphasize because you talk to a machine. So
Exactly.
emphasize your skills and your accomplishments.
What would you say
Don't
regarding
be
when I
shy.
talk? Yeah, when I talk to a machine, would you give us any tips regarding what kind of facial expressions do you think we should have? And what should be our focus with our eyes? These two questions: where to focus our eyes
Focus,
and the facial expressions.
the focus should be on the camera, and the facial expressions should be according to, I would say, to your accomplishments. If you talk about your skills and accomplishments, you have to, uh, I would say, a bit of a smile, not very serious, but a bit of a smile. I accomplished many, many, many students, etc., in such a way.
Could you say that there is such a thing as an over smiley interviewee for
Oh,
online? Let's say I open a video, I'm in HR and I watch like millions of videos a day. And I get this someone who's very cheeky and very smiling.
no, no, you have to be very rational, and you have to smile, or you have to be serious according to the content of what you're talking about. It's
Will
not
it be
that.
correct if I say that this is extremely complex? It's very complex, and I try to get out of you what I cannot. Could you give me a 10-point list of how to do well? And would it be correct if I said that the more times you're interviewed, the better you will be at it? It's like dancing, or it's like, any other kind of art. You can't
I have
just be
no
an actor, you can't just start acting. It's your first day as an actor, and you can't expect to be a Laurence Olivier on the first day. Would you say that it's an accumulative kind of process? And
Definitely, definitely, it's an accumulated kind of process, and you have to be a professional, and a professional means that you have experience with the various situations, and it's
also,
very important.
so it means that you as a coach, you cannot know when you start the process with someone, you don't know what exactly is going to happen because it's a very personal kind of thing. That's why it's called coaching, right? You have to see what the gaps are in their behavioral skills. While
Absolutely.
how long do you
Absolutely.
think is, do you have any kind of tracks that you work with clients on, on personal base or group base? How long do you think it takes? How many meetings does someone need to get ready? Is there a
It, de-
minimum, a maximum?
it depends. The minimum can be one meeting of an hour or 2 hours, and the maximum is
Lifelong coaching.
yeah. It depends on the person, or it depends on the group.
Um, would you tell us if you think that the camera on online interviews should focus only on face, or does it help to be more expressive when I use my hands? And how do you feel about that?
I would recommend to use your hands. I
Not
would
to use them.
not to use hands. I would recommend to look straight towards the camera, and use facial expressions only.
Um, Towards the end, I'll let you think about if you can remember anything funny or interesting from any interview where you were interviewed or as an interviewer. And meanwhile, I want to share with our audience of viewers, hopefully, and maybe some people are listening as if it's a podcast. When I had to go into high school, and we were living at the time in Jerusalem, I had to go to be interviewed, as my father well remembers, by the principal. They interviewed all the kids that were accepted into that school. It was a good school. It was very important for me to get into it. Thinking back, does it really matter? But it doesn't matter. It was a matter of status to be accepted, etc. And my father took me to the side and he told me, listen carefully, go there, answer the questions, be yourself, and remember one thing: if they tell you that they didn't accept you, they don't deserve you. And I have to tell you that I've been taking this with me to all of the interviews I ever had since. And you guys, it really works. It takes off the tension. It reminds you that if you didn't do well on this interview, you'll do well on the next one, and the next one, and the next one, because it is an art that you acquire with the years. So, did you think about something you'd like to share with us?
Well, I would say that an interview is a two-way road. Uh, the the interviewer wants to sell, and the interviewee wants to buy. It's a it's a very mutual thing. So every each of them is doing his best to sell, and each of them is doing his best to buy.
So, you're reminding the people who are being interviewed, especially today in Corona time, when it's going to be, unfortunately, a market where the interviewers have an easier time. There are a lot of unemployed people around the world. Would you say that it helps to take the tension out of an interview to remind the person that's being interviewed, don't be so sure you want to work for this person interviewing you? Don't be
Absolutely,
stressed, right?
absolutely, absolutely.
He might really want you to be working for him. And that takes the tension away. Because I think you told me in the beginning, or if you didn't, I want to end with this. Would you please emphasize, why is it important for an interviewer to see an interviewee who's confident of herself or himself? Why is that important for any job? Why? Why at all?
It's important because if he'll be accepted for the job, he'll be a better performer. We need self
Did
confidence,
you know what you're going to do?
of course.
For me, as a company, as a
Yeah, yeah.
So I would like to emphasize, if I didn't emphasize it enough, as in all of my interviews, that Yossi does coaching, and he does it also for groups of people that do it together. We didn't go into it, but there's a system of coaching one-on-one and coaching that, you'll get
Works
spread
for
out in groups and couples and practice on each other. And he coaches people that want to learn how to be good interviewers and how to look for the different signs in an interviewee, what's good for you as a company, what's not. So if you would like to make contact, you'll find the contact through my video. Thank you very much for joining me again. And we'll keep on talking about skills online and offline.
You're
Take
most
care.
welcome. Bye.